Hello, and welcome to SquaredEyesT.V. Now today, we'll be covering what's made The Boys as one of the best television shows I've ever seen. And even that's an understatement. Let's check out what happened in Season 1 of The Boys that offers a dark and satirical take on the superhero genre. Let's also discuss a few of the Easter eggs that you might have missed the first time around. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Episode 1. Now the story begins downtown as two kids debate who would win the fight between the Deep and Translucent. Out of nowhere, a runaway van transporting stolen money speeds towards the kids when Queen Maeve shows up and stops it in its tracks. When the assailants take the kids hostage, Homelander shows up and uses his laser beam to disarm them. Whoa, hold on a minute. These guys look like cheap rip-offs of Wonder Woman and Superman, minus the weird American flag as a cape. Well, on the other side of the city, Huey Campbell works at Bryman Audio when his girlfriend Robin shows up, asking him if he can lay the cable. Ironically, Huey explains that laying the cable meant taking a dump, so he corrects her by saying that the correct metaphor for doing it in the sheets is laying the pipe. After just discussing moving in together, Robin explodes like a red balloon with nothing but bones and blood spilled all over the place. Now it turns out that the superhero A-Train brutally collided with Robin, who was one step off the curb. Everything happened so fast that Huey was left on the roadside, covered in blood, while still holding her severed hands. So now we have a speedster like Flash. It's shocking how DC is not sued for copyright issues, right? Well, after the service, a Vought representative approaches Huey and offers him money as restitution, but in exchange, he has to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which he refuses to do. Oh, by the way, did you know that Huey was modeled after Shaun of the Dead star Simon Pegg, who actually has a role playing Huey's father in the TV show? Well, at work, Billy Butcher walks up to Huey and introduces himself as a federal agent. He explains how heroes lose hundreds of people to collateral damage, but it's constantly being swept under the rug by corporate lobbyists. Butcher then takes Huey to the secret identity. In this discreet bar, heroes can be themselves. It's a bit of a place for boning. There they watch CCTV footage of A-Train at the bar, laughing about how inconvenient Robin's death was. Butcher then tells him to accept the offer and sign their NDA so he can get into 7 Tower and plant a bug. Now in case you missed it, before Huey stepped out of the car, he noticed a chew toy in his back seat, to which in the comics, Butcher actually did have a sidekick bulldog named Terror. Little did he know that Translucent had seen him when he bugged the room and followed them after Billy had dropped him off at work. Translucent confronts Huey and beats him up when he doesn't answer him. Billy smashes through the storefront and runs Translucent over with the car. Huey sneaks up from behind and electrocutes Translucent with an exposed cable wire. Des Moines, Iowa is home to the up-and-coming superhero Starlight, who auditions for the Seven, an elite team of superheroes saving the world. By the way, did you know that the Justice League was founded by 7 original members? Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, the Martian Manhunter, and Batman. Characters with the same powers and appearances as the show's superheroes. When she thinks she's botched up that interview, she receives a call telling her that she's been chosen to join the Seven. Vought International later hosts an event where the Deep announces the retirement of their former 7-member lamplighter and introduces his replacement, Starlight. The Deep then shows Starlight around the 7 Tower. She was so overwhelmed that she blusteringly admitted to having a schoolgirl crush on him. When he suddenly pulled down his pants, Starlight runs away in disgust, but he threatens to start a rumor about how she attacked him. Meanwhile, Madeline Sitwell, VP of Vought International, meets with the mayor of Baltimore and convinces him to sign an exclusive contract with the Nubian prince for $300 million per year. It looks like the Black Panther for the MCU if you ask me. Now in response, the mayor tries to blackmail her, explaining that he knows about Compound V. On their way home, Homelander shows up and flies along his jet. He then uses his heat vision to destroy the plane, killing everyone on board. Episode 2. After defeating Translucent, Huey discovers that Butcher does not actually work for the FBI. They stuff his body in the trunk and escape from the scene. They're shocked that Translucent is still alive, banging in the back of the car. Huey wants to set him free, but Butcher convinces him otherwise. Then they meet Frenchie for help, which makes him wonder why Butcher has gone to see him, given that he still owes him money. Butcher claims that he has something better, and quickly shows that he has Translucent at the back of this car. Now Frenchie refuses to help, telling them that Translucent is chipped. He worries that Homelander and the Seven could already be on their way. Butcher refuses to leave until Frenchie helps them, or until the Seven show up. Huey covered the walls and the ceiling with foil to block the chip signal. At the same time, Butcher and Frenchie prepare an electrified cage to keep Translucent in. Note to self, this is not how you take care of pets. Frenchie explains that translucent skin is as hard as a diamond, making it nearly impossible to penetrate. He then fashions a bullet made of the same material as translucent skin, which bounced off him. He realizes that although his skin may be impenetrable, his insides are squishy, just like a human's. After rendering him unconscious, Frenchie plants a bomb down Translucent's caboose to blow him up from the inside. Now you can always count on sticking it up someone's stinky star when all else fails. Walking home at night, Starlight runs into a couple of young men who are about to assault a woman. She beats them up with ease, but unbeknownst to her, she's being recorded on camera. Ashley confronts her, who has already gone viral. She worries that this has blown her secret identity and urges her to meet with legal and crisis management teams. Meanwhile, at a VOT fundraiser, Stillwell meets with the senator, who tells her nobody will put her soups into national defense. He explains how nobody wants to outsource from them as they worry that these heroes belong to her. Later that night, the senator is tricked into getting laid with a shapeshifter doppelganger. Seeing her change sure makes you wonder how it felt inside her after she switched from a man to a woman. Stillwell uses this to blackmail the senator to get the bill to the committee. Now, after learning that he has a bomb up his poop chute, Translucent begs for his life and offers information on A-Train. He tells Huey that although he doesn't know where he was off to that day, he does know that he came from a meeting with his girlfriend, Popclaw, in the basement. As he walked away, Huey pressed the detonator, blowing up Translucent. Episode 3. Huey is still shocked, having murdered a person for the first time, while Butcher and Frenchie clean up after the mess he left behind. Now, did you know that there's a similar scene in Breaking Bad when Jesse and Walter have to clean up Emilio's body parts? Well, the episode writer for Breaking Bad, George Mastras, also wrote this. Well, Butcher suggests that Huey go home to get more clothes and insists that Frenchie accompany him. When Starlight goes viral, Stillwell and her team reveal that the incident's victim had come forward and her popularity had skyrocketed. Hoping to ride this wave of popularity, the group unveils her new uniform, which displeases Starlight as it's a bit too revealing. By the way, did you know that when Ashley introduces VOT's marketing team, Seth and Evan, these are actually funny references to the producers Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who also produced Superbad? Well, when Starlight refuses to wear it, Stillwell convinces her to do it or to leave the Seven. By the way, in case you missed it, Isadora, who designed her outfit, was inspired by Pixar's The Incredibles character Edna, the superhero's costume designer. You could even see the resemblance in their outfits. Getting back to the story, Butcher later briefly visits an old colleague, Mother's Milk, or MM, at the Juvenile Detention Center. Butcher invites him back to the team, but MM claims he's happy with what he's doing. Butcher reveals that they've eliminated Translucent and plans to bring down the Seven and VOT International. Butcher and the team stake out Popclaw's apartment, revealed to be A-Train's off-the-record girlfriend. Now they plan to sneak into her apartment and plant a bug. Still, Huey suggests hacking into her electronic devices would be easier. They pose as workers sent by the landlord to upgrade their internet routers. On the way out, Huey runs into A-Train, which surprised him that he didn't recognize Huey. A-Train visits Popclaw and worries about losing the race tomorrow. He explains how Stillwell told him that he'd get kicked out of the Seven should he lose the race. Now he claims that he's going to need more Compound V for the race, but Popclaw advises him against it after he lost control and accidentally caused the death of Robin Ward the last time he used it. Having learned about the mysterious Compound V, Butcher claims that they've got to steal it for Frenchie to analyze. It's the day of the race to determine the fastest man alive between A-Train and Shockwave. The boys decide to have Frenchie sneak into A-Train's changing room while the others kept a lookout. A-Train shoots up without anyone noticing and wins the race, breaking a new world record. When the boys think that they've missed their chance, MM tells them that Popclaw has a vial of the substance. After injecting herself with it, the boys are shocked to find her lifting huge barbells for an hour when her landlord suddenly shows up to collect the rent. Now this gives a different meaning to femme fatale. She invites him inside and convinces him to play an erotic roleplay. Note that this is not the roleplay you'd find in 50 Shades of Grey. She sits on his face and accidentally crushes his head. Like what Cersei from the Game of Thrones used to say, tears aren't a woman's only weapon. The best ones are between your legs. Billy and Frenchie break in and blackmail her, making her tell them everything she knows about Compound V. Meanwhile, Homelander and the Deep meet with Stillwell after unearthing Translucent's remains at the bottom of the ocean. While still shocked at how they managed to pierce through his diamond skin, Homelander expresses his concern that this is just the beginning. Did you know that Elizabeth Shue, playing Stillwell, is the main character in the movie Hollow Man? So this isn't her first time playing a role with an invisible man. Episode 4. Huey, Frenchie, and MM stake out a noodle shop where Popclaw suspects Compound V comes from. They follow a suspicious guy to the back of the supermarket and find a warehouse full of boxes. Frenchie finds a suspicious girl behind bars and rescues her, despite the armed men's warnings. As soon as she got out, she pounced on them and slaughtered the armed men before escaping into the city. Now the boys search for clues when finds a syringe of Compound V. They follow the trail to a nail salon where the escaped girl murdered the owner. Here's another little tidbit for you. Did you know that when the boys were looking for the girl in the subway station, there was a coffee joint named Jitterbean from the comics shown in several shots of the episode? Yeah, pretty cool, right? Anyway, the boys finally find the girl, but A-Train shows up out of nowhere and carries her away. She managed to trip him, and the two fought it out. A-Train gets the upper hand and smacks her head against the wall, like a piñata. Frenchie calls him out and causes a fan mob. The boys use this chance to corner the girl and gas her. Meanwhile, Stillwell receives a call from NORAD that a plane over the mid-Atlantic Ocean had just been hijacked. She quickly calls for Homelander and Queen Maeve to save the aircraft and earn Congress's trust to have their bill pass the military. Homelander and Queen Maeve take out the hijackers, but when they check the cockpit, another hijacker has already killed the co-pilot while taking the other one hostage. When the hijacker shoots the other pilot, Homelander is forced to hit him with his laser eyes and inadvertently destroys the control panel. Unable to do anything, Homelander tells Maeve it's time to leave, but she refuses, hoping to save the others. He eventually convinces her to leave the plane with him and abandon the passengers to their deaths. They later show up as they pull the wreckage back to shore. Homelander gives a speech about how they arrived just minutes after the plane went down. He claims that this could have been avoided if they'd only been made part of the military's chain of command. Episode 5. Following A-Train's advice, Popclaw goes into hiding in Havana, Cuba. A-Train drops in after weeks of no word and claims that Stillwell has allowed them to go public about their relationship under the condition that she comes clean about whom she'd told about Compound V. Popclaw describes them to A-Train as she doesn't know their names. After a heartfelt confession that he loves her, he quickly injects her with heroin. He then reports back to Homelander that Popclaw has died of a heroin overdose. At the Believe Expo, Starlight and Huey catch up with each other, and she introduces him to her mother. Now, in case you missed it, a poster at the Believe Expo is the cover art for the comic book The Boys Herogasm issue number 4. Butcher tells Huey to ask Starlight for a VIP pass so he can meet Ezekiel. Huey tries to blackmail Ezekiel using an incriminating video they got from the Hero Club. When he can't show it because his phone stopped working, Huey pretends to be one of the men he was sleeping with that night. Ezekiel denies it and wraps his elongated arms, choking Huey. Looks like a special appearance from Luffy from One Piece. Anyway, Ezekiel caves in when Huey mentions his friend will upload the video if he doesn't comply. Huey informs that he managed to get Ezekiel to reveal the location of their latest shipment to a local hospital downtown. Butcher meets with who makes a shocking discovery that babies are actually being injected with the substance. They quickly realize that soups are being created in labs, unlike what they were made to believe. After securing a sample of Compound V, armed men start shooting at them. Butcher grabs one of the babies and uses its laser eyes to kill them. Now, wouldn't it have been funny if the baby would have puked instead of shooting laser eyes? Well, mourning the loss of his girlfriend, A-Train goes through her things when he discovers the footage of Popclaw accidentally crushing her landlord's head. Frenchie was also caught on camera trying to blackmail her and takes it back to Vaught's crime analytics. Now they explain how Frenchie has dozens of aliases and several addresses. Sherry later calls Frenchie and warns him that he's been made, as Black Noir has been going through each of his hideouts. Before escaping, Frenchie worries about what they would do if they found the girl, so he decides to free her. Black Noir didn't take long to track down and find Frenchie. When Noir is about to take him out, the girl shows up and knocks him down. Noir mortally wounds the girl before making his escape. Frenchie returns for the girl and finds her dead, when she suddenly breathes, and her wounds quickly heal. Episode 6. Explains to the boys that Vought Industries bankrolled the Samaritan Embrace, led by Ezekiel, to ship Compound V to 53 hospitals around the U.S. under the pretense of polio vaccine. He believes that no soup was born, and that they're all injected by the compound as babies. Frenchie believes that the girl is trying to communicate with him. He convinces to help, and then suggests contacting Mesmer, a telepathic super. They track Mesmer to a comic book convention and threaten to out him for insider trading if he refuses to cooperate. They discovered that Kimiko, the girl, was a terrorist before being captured. It was later revealed that she and her brother were kidnapped at a young age and forced to be soldiers for the Shining Light Liberation Army. Butcher suspects that Vought Industries planned on creating a super terrorist to wreak havoc and that only a superhero like Homelander could take her down. This incident would then force Congress to let the superheroes into the military. Mesmer later meets with Homelander and betrays the boys, showing him spy cam photos of Butcher and the others in exchange for a position with Vought. Having discovered Vaught's master plan, Butcher contacts FBI Director Rayner about their findings. He reveals that his team has uncovered quite a diabolical plan and has even secured a sample of Compound V. Now, before he gives it up, he hands her a list of demands. By the way, did you know that one of Butcher's demands is an office in the Flatiron Building, which happens to be the same location that the boys use as their headquarters in the comics? It's also notable that this is the same location as the Daily Bugle in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Rayner accepts his demands, except for the one about Homelander. She cautions him not to push Homelander too hard, fearing that it'll result in thousands of deaths. Butcher is disappointed and walks out, determined to take down Vought alone. Episode 7. It's revealed in a flashback from 8 years ago that Rebecca "Becca" Butcher worked at Vought International, handling Homelander's Twitter account. After Becca's disappearance, a CIA official, Grace Mallory, shows him a video of Becca entering Homelander's office and then leaving in a tussle after being alone for 3 hours, implying that Homelander violated her. Now, people quickly assume the worst, and you never know. Maybe they were just playing Jenga throughout their whole time or something. Well, anyway, Homelander calls everyone back to the tower for a meeting. He then flashes a picture of Huey on the screen as the man responsible for Translucent's death, blackmailing Ezekiel, brainwashing Popclaw, and forcing Mesmer to cooperate. When asked why he's doing it, Homelander reminds A-Train that he was the boyfriend of the girl that he accidentally obliterated. Homelander claims that everything happened when Starlight joined the Seven and suspected her of working with him. Maeve starts to speak up for Starlight, calming a furious Homelander and taking responsibility for her actions. Huey walks in on the boys and tells Butcher that he's out. While arguing with Butcher, Huey suddenly receives a phone call from his father. It turns out that A-Train has held his father hostage, demanding he come alone. MM claims that all their identities have been made, to which Butcher suspects Mesmer was the one who betrayed them. Huey comes alone to meet A-Train at his house and tries to negotiate his father's release in exchange for some Compound V. A-Train debates with Huey over who was worse when Kimiko sneaks in through a vent and shatters his leg with a baseball bat. Butcher returns to the safe house after confronting a scared Mesmer at a subway station. He tries to convince Butcher to spare him in exchange for his help finding his wife. Butcher refuses his offer and bashes his face into the sink. When he returns, MM begs him to call a CIA Director Rayner and take her deal, worried about his family. And here's some more trivia for you. Did you know that Huey's father, Simon Pegg, and Billy Butcher's Carl Urban appeared in all 3 Star Trek movies in the Kelvin timeline? Pretty cool, huh? Well, having learned Billy Butcher is one of his enemies, Homelander decides to investigate what happened to Rebecca. He quickly found out that she'd gone missing 8 years ago. His search led him to a Dr. Jonah Vogelbaum, a former scientist at Vought and Homelander's father figure. He reveals that Becca came to Stillwell 8 years ago pregnant with Homelander's child, who back then thought he was infertile. The child was growing up so fast that they had to make an emergency delivery, but it was already too late when the baby clawed its way out of her. Now that's an absolutely horrific thought, and it makes me think of that scene from Alien. Both Becca and the child died at the operating table. Before he left, Jonah apologizes for how Homelander turned out after being raised as a lab rat. Rayner and the CIA show up at their hideout and promise to keep their family safe in exchange for the evidence that they've collected on Vought. Later, Stillwell is brought in by the CIA for interrogation. They have proof that Stillwell and Vought have been lying to the public about how the soups are created. They even have a sample of the Compound V that they've been pumping the babies in the hospitals with for the last 50 years. And they also have them for making a super terrorist in a plot to force Congress to have their soups infiltrate the military. Rayner suddenly walks out of the interrogation and is shown footage of a SEAL team operation that ended with a super terrorist blowing their operatives up and walking away unscathed. Episode 8. Stillwell meets with Defense Secretary Robert Singer. By the way, did you know that The Boys creator Eric Kripke is known for his masterpiece Supernatural? So it doesn't come as a shock that we get Supernatural references here. Defense Secretary Robert Singer is played by Jim Beaver, who also plays Supernatural's Bobby Singer. So you see, it isn't exactly a coincidence that we see the same actor and the same name in both shows. Anyway, Stillwell claims that it doesn't matter how the enemy got a hold of Compound V, but the point is, they got it. With the appearance of super terrorists, war is taken to a whole new level as Supes can easily overcome any machine or weapon the world will throw at them. She convinces him that they're the only ones who could face such threats. Rayner immediately calls Butcher and informs him that the CIA has decided to keep the existence of Compound V, having just signed the military deal with Vought, a secret. She tells him that Vought has pushed for his team to become fugitives. The others decide to go their separate ways, but Billy claims he still has one more play to move. Billy takes Huey to meet Grace Mallory, the founder of the Boys, and tells her that he's got the team back together. Grace refuses to help them after Lamplighter incinerated her grandchildren the last time she went against Vought in their soups. Now Billy insists that she help them as she owes him for dragging him into this mess. Grace tells him that Homelander and Stillwell share a complicated relationship and that she may know of Homelander's weakness. Frenchie and Kimiko are ambushed in their motel by armed commandos. Butcher and Huey drive past the motel when Butcher suspects a setup and explains that someone took the others. If you missed it, when MM criticized the van they used to stake out Popclaw's apartment was not inconspicuous, Butcher commented that a big black van with flowers on the side was inconspicuous. Well, it turns out that the van that the SWAT officers were hiding in is a big black van with, you guessed it, flowers on the side. Anyway, Huey begs him to go back and save them, but Butcher's determined to finish the job. Huey later realizes Butcher only cares about going after Homelander, so they both go their own separate ways. At a VOD fundraiser, the CEO, Mr. Edgar, talks to Stillwell and rewards her efforts with an exorbitant bonus and a new position. By the way, did you know that when Mr. Edgar explains how he needs someone to run the show for when he moves to Belize, it's a bit of a crude reference to Breaking Bad, specifically that sleazy lawyer Saul Goodman, who refers to death as sending them to Belize. Homelander finds Stillwell and admits that he planned for everything, including the appearance of a super terrorist. He reveals how he put into action creating supervillains across the globe that only the Seven can fight. So Huey returns to the motel, where commandos quickly swarm and throw him in a cage with the others. He explains how Butcher has gone after Homelander by himself, while he got himself captured to rescue them. He describes how a wire was lodged in his retainer, which Frenchie then used to escape prison. And thank God it was his retainer. For a second, I was worried he might have hid it somewhere else. But anyway, they managed to rescue a weakened Kimiko, but had themselves surrounded when they ran out of bullets. Now just when they thought it was all over, Starlight escorted them to the exit. As they leave, A-Train shows up, and Starlight and Huey decide to stay behind. Starlight begs him to walk away, but A-Train refuses, and they're forced to face each other. Starlight keeps missing, so A-Train got close enough to send her flying. When he's about to attack Huey, A-Train suffers a heart attack and collapses. Now don't you wish all supervillains had heart attacks? Anyway, Huey tries resuscitating him, but Starlight tells him to escape before VOD operatives arrive. Meanwhile, Butcher lies in wait for Stillwell to come home. He quickly straps an array of C4 explosives on her before Homelander arrives. When he comes down, Homelander brings Madeline's baby Teddy. He then questions Butcher's motives, and if he has solid proof that he killed his wife. While on that topic, Homelander turns to Stillwell and admits that he's already learned the truth from Vogelbaum. Stillwell acknowledges that she's scared of him. Homelander then appreciates her candor before he shoots laser vision through her eyes. Butcher realizes that he's lost his advantage and detonates the explosives. Butcher then wakes up on the lawn, still alive. Homelander urges him to see for himself and is shocked to find Becca alive, with Homelander's child. Homelander asks the boy if he knows him, but when he doesn't recognize him, he tells him that he's his father. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and make sure to tap that bell to be notified about our latest videos. And with that, we'll see you next time.